Okay, superb. So just give me a second. I'll share my screen and we'll start. Okay, right. So before we start, like I just wanted to know, like a few queries. Say, for example, there are different programming language which you guys can go ahead with, right? So when it comes to the programming context or coding aspect, so you need to solve problems in any of the programming language. It could be C, it could be Python, it could be Java. So based on your comfortable, whichever you're comfortable with. So let me know how many of you are comfortable, what we can say. I hope you can put it in a Q&A section or chat, like you can put it in Q&A, I can see, right? Okay. Yeah, screen I have not shaded, just a second. Okay, Java. So you can just mention Python, Java, Python. Okay, fine. No problem. Right. So the way how I'm going to take today's session is not majorly like again on programming languages. So we will see what are the different types of possible questions which is available and how we can approach the given problems. Okay. So depending upon like your what we can say programming language, certain questions I'll explain it in Java, certain question I'll explain it in Python, certain I'll explain it in both, so that you guys can understand. See, anyway, at the end the syntax is going to slightly differ, okay, but the logic most of the time remains same. We'll just go with this. Yeah, so Python, but the TCS C is only working. See, Python is working, but only thing is you have to give a proper indentation. I'll help you out with that as well. So those who want to use Python, you have to ensure like the indentation is properly given, then it is going to run, or else it might give some error. That is true. Okay, right. So we'll see that how, and like we can go for look into this. Just give me a second. Okay, I can see I executed using Python by giving two spaces, right? So that can be done. Okay, yes, it works. Only thing is the indentation is not automatically given when it comes to that. So sometimes you can use tab, but when you use a tab, there are two different scenarios. Since it is like a web application, certain times it will go to the next what we can say input area. Okay, right. Yeah, just give me a second. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, I hope the screen is visible. So about aptitude again, I'll will just see. Okay, so for time being, this session till 12:30, what we are going to have it on, what we can say it as programming only. Okay, is someone confirmed like whether the screen is visible? Okay, great. So fine then. What we'll do is we'll just start with few set of problems. Like we'll just try to understand how problems or previously what kind of problems has been given, what is expected, and as a fresher, like, or as you are going to be a participant, so what all the basic things you should aware about, we'll just go for look into that aspect so that you will gain more confidence once we start with this. Okay, so now what you can observe here is, so we have one problem statement. Okay, so you can just go through this. Write a program to calculate fuel consumption of your truck. The program should ask the user to enter the quantity of diesel to fill up the tank and the distance covered till the tank goes dry. Okay, so this is what the concept. Now, whenever you go with this problem statement, you will have a scenario narrated across the logic, right? So which means what you need to know is, like, out of this you should be able to extract the proper data first, and then you need to know what kind of logic needs to be applied so that you can get the respective output. Okay, so say for example, if you can just see here, they have also given a sample input and output as well, so which we'll go for look into it and try to understand. Okay, right. So we'll read the complete question first. So are you guys aware how many question is going to be asked in TCS? How many programming question is going to be asked? Right. So out of which it is going to be what we can say, one medium and another one is going to be like either two mediums or one medium and one slightly more difficult compared to the first one. Okay, so that's how it is going to be. Now you guys should be capable of clearing at least one program comfortably or few test cases in both. Okay, so then only it will be helpful for you to comfortably get the good pack, like get shortlisted and the packages, right? So now let me just go ahead with the this question. If you can see here, initially what you need to do is just go through this, understand the description properly, write a program to calculate fuel consumption of truck. Now the program should ask the user, the data starts from here, the program should ask the user to enter the quantity of a diesel. So which means quantity of a diesel is the first input. You can see here in the sample input auto, enter the number of liters to fill the tank. Okay, to fill up the tank. So that's what the first input which is going to be taken, and the distance covered till the tank goes dry. So the distance covered is 150. So which means with this we can easily make it out. If there is 20 liters of diesel, right, and it goes 150, what we can say, kilometers, so we should be able to know how much mileage it is giving, right? So that is what the concept. Now convert the same result to US style miles per gallon, display the result as well as kilometer per liter also, right? So these two things, only thing is we should be aware about the calculation. So which means at least like one a simple question with certain maybe what we can say it as mathematical induction oriented problems, you might get the highest probability is there. Okay, so they would have already given the logic as well, only thing is you should know how to handle the data. That is most important. See, just try to understand. I might have taken one question, but I am speaking about like when we speak about a simple question, what kind of things you can expect. Now going forward, it could be any programming language which you are going through implementation. You should be capable of handling certain operations. Say what are those, how to take input, how to display, how to use the what we can say, the calculation, how to use the operators, how to present the data properly. Okay, so those things is what you guys needs to be have the clarity. If the quantity of a distance is zero or negative, display it as invalid. So they have given another condition also, so which means once you take an input, first you have to check for this invalid input, because whenever we come across any of the data or like any of these invalid scenarios, so it is always good to what we can say, check that in the initial go. So you should have the proper step by step way of implementation, right? And also they have given the calculation part here, how you can do it. Now what you can see here, in certain case they might give you this print statement, and many case they might not be able to give the things. Okay, this is just for your reference actually, right? So now we'll just go for see how what to be done and like how we can go for implement. So most of the time, like there will be a template of code will be available where you need to write a certain functions, or else you have to write the whole thing up. Okay. So coming back to, so because of which what is happening is, many are right may write a right logic, but it will give a indentation error or certain errors, and finding difficult to implement. So I'll just address that part also with some how you can overcome that, as one of your friend already mentioned, like has given maybe like two space as an indentation for everything and taken it forward. You can do that as well. Okay, right. So we'll just start with this. First thing what you need to know is, you need to know how to get the inputs. So certain scenario they would have given, or else you have to take care. Okay. So what I suggest is, have a pen and paper, irrespective of whatever the programming language you guys are comfortable with. So you just follow the steps which I'm going to provide, so that you can feel comfortable with the fundamentals. Okay. So starting with this, say for example, everybody should be able to know how to take the input and output. Okay. So which means when we speak about this input and output, say if you are going with what we can say Java, you should know how to take input and output. Okay. Similarly, okay, so since there are like different category of students over here, but you guys needs to do it. I will show for one or two, so rest are like, say for example, if it is C programming, scanf, printf. So if it is Python, input, right, and print function. Again, it's not just about the function. You should know how to display different types of data. When I say different types of data, it could be integer, it could be float. And when we speak about float, correct to two decimal places, one decimal places, rounding it off, right, as well as the concatenation of a string and an integer, string and a float, or anything, like it could be a new line. So you should have that clarity, right? So when it comes to this, okay, so for printing and for input, you can take it as scanner, or you can take it as buffer reader. Okay, there are two ways how you can take it. So you should be having that aware. Again, like in this scene, see out, right? So similarly, you should be have the clarity on like how you need to go with that. That is pretty much basic things what everybody should be aware about. Okay, so right. Hope you are able to follow, right? Now I'll show for few, and like others, you please ensure everybody is aware about these things. You have to work it out, because I might not be able to take out the same thing in all programming languages for time being, but I'll just show in at least like two programming languages. Okay, but I'll help you to connect with the same context, so that you can list down whatever I am doing. See, this is I'm writing, so that you can write down. Those who are working with Java, you have to like go for find out the syntax in this way. Those are going with Python, C, C++. So you have to get into these aspects. Okay, right. So if you can see this question here, It's not like the logic is not too difficult, but only thing is you should know how to take the input, how to print it, how to use operator, and how to present it properly, right? So that is what the foundation what they are going to check. Now here you can see the calculation part is also given here, as well as like the presentation how it should be, some hint also has been given, right? So I'll just go for give it as an input. Say for example what you can do is you just go for search, input in Java. Okay, again, since there is no time for what we can say go through all the fundamentals, I'm just showing you like how you can get it repaired. So you just go to any of these things, but this is all mandatory, guys. Without this, if you want to go ahead, so even though you know the logic, you'll not be able to implement it. Okay, just go with certain things like this. See, there are two ways how you can take. Get used to like at least one, and be aware of both, so that like, because if they have given a template, you never know whether they have used a buffer reader or a scanner. Again, if you are comfortable with only scanner and they would have given the template, again you should not get confused. So when it comes to this, it's always suggested for you to what we can say get used with the buffer reader. It has its own like added advantages, and it will avoid certain ambiguities. So if you're aware about that, and you can take care comfortably, or else you just go with this, right? So now when we speak about this, just like see, keep these things as a handy and a referring material kind of things, right? So that you can go for use that whenever you want to execute or these things, certain things, it should be on your fingertips, right? So now you can see that's not happening, so you need to give a proper indentation. So we'll see that also in one, like I'll take one Python example and show you as well. Okay, now let me go for take the input. Okay, so with the help of buffer reader, see, as we know, we need to create a buffer reader, okay, object, right? So but whenever we go for create like take a buffer reader, you have to ensure that this import has been done properly. Okay, so let me just go back, import. Okay, and then go with, say for example, int, or let me just take it as buffer reader. First let me create a buffer reader object. Okay, so now how to create that? New buffer reader, right? Is it sufficient? We can directly create like this. So whenever you want to create a buffer reader object, you have to send the input stream also. So now how about that input stream? Then we have to import that input stream reader as well. Okay, so without that input stream reader, import will not be able to go for what we can say it as invoke or like create the object of that, right? So what I will do, I'll just go for in the input parameter. See, either you can create it as a separate object in the previous line, or put it in a single line based on whatever the you are comfortable with. You can go hard, right? Input stream equal to new input stream reader. So whenever you want to go for create a input stream reader, you should have a like system.in as a input parameter. So you can just see here, right? So I'm just putting it in a simple ways. So once you are aware about this, you can just go for do the same thing. Now this input stream reader will be input for this buffer reader. Now, as of now, this input stream reader, I have not used it. If I go for run it, what's going to happen? You can see there is an error. And consider this error as a friend of yours and read it with patience and go back and what we can say, resolve it. Okay, so it is clearly given, no, main.java line number 7. Similarly, if we are going with Python, C, C++ also, even if you have missed the certain header files, you will get the, again, Python doesn't have what we can say, for basic operation, no, node it, most of the things will happen. But going forward with same math and like other like certain inbuilt things, if you want to go ahead, then you have to do the same import. Okay, so which means you should have that clarity. So even if you get some error, you should be able to go back and do the changes. So now tell me, like this input stream reader, okay, now you can see the error has gone. So at least like you should have, okay, this is input stream reader is a part of java.io package, right? So now it is done. Once we are ready with this, it is time to take the input, right? So just like that, you can go with like be handy with all the operations what you require to take a string. See, when you go with a buffer reader, you'll go for take everything as a what we can string only. Then you are going to do the typecasting as per the requirement, right? So what we'll do is we'll go for take a input, and then I'll go for print that whatever the input has been taken. Okay, so I'll just do, say for example, input is, okay, so since it is a string concatenation, I'll go with plus, right? So let me go for run it. Okay, r, the variable is what it is, like br. I have taken it as buffer reader object as br dot readline. Readline is a method of br. Right, so everything has been done. Still it is giving an error, unreported exception, IO exception. So basically whenever you go for use this what we can say buffer reader, you have to throw the exception. So that's going to be handled by the compiler. Okay, so there are like like throw and throws. So which keyword should be used here, throw or throws, in front of this main method? Okay, yeah, sorry for that. I think last 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, you're not able to see the screen. Okay, hope it is clear, visible for everyone. Okay, great. Right, so I was just explaining about this same thing, but I was explaining with step by step. Okay, so that's all. Like I just re go through this for quickly. So similarly, maybe like other programming language also. Okay, so the reason why I'm taking online editor, because like at that you're going to use an online editor over there. I just want you to get familiar to understand First one is like you should get comfortable with the online editor. Okay, so that you can comfortably, confidently start writing the logic further, right? So fine. So if you can see here, what I was trying to explain is you have to start with what buffer reader, right? So if you want to know with the buffer reader, you can just see here. This is what the syntax to create the buffer reader object. Okay, so if you want to create that buffer reader object, right? So what you need to do, you need to import that required packages as well. Okay, so that is what I was trying to explain. Okay, so basically you should be aware about like how to take this input output in any of the programming language which you are going to use, right? So now what you want to see, say for example, we have a main class here, right? So we'll go with this, enter the user defined data using buffer reader. So here what you can observe is they have written like the whole things in a single line. So they have created an input stream reader also within a single line, as well as send that as a input parameter for the buffer reader for creating a object, right, constructor. So now same thing what I did is like I just wanted to show you in a step-by-step procedure. That's what I was driving over here. So created a buffer reader, info stream reader as a separate object and sending it here. So which means I know like most of you might have already comfortable with all these things, but at the end, just what question arises is like, are you comfortable to take any given inputs? As simple as that. If you are comfortable with that, then it's okay. No need to worry on any other aspects. Okay. And then are you capable of printing the same any data when I said like whether it could be integer, whether it could be float, whether it could be array, whether it could be a string. Okay, so that is what the context. Similarly, now if it is what we can say Java, you this line should have been written if you are going with what we can say, right? So this read line internally throws the exception, so that should be handled in the function wherever we are going to be invoking this method. So that is what the reason. What you need to do is you should come back here, and here you have to give like that IO exception, whatever the error you got, that should be handled here. Okay, so I know like you might have the understanding, but you need to ensure that everything is okay. So now it is being thrown, but still it is giving an exception because it has not, we have not imported that, this exception. So what I want to say is, if you have not seen a simple input and output, so maybe your logic might have been proper and you might end up with wondering like, okay, what went wrong, why it is giving error, right? So the reason for this is like we have to import this, right? So usually like these kind of scenarios I have seen many times when it comes to students. They feel that like they have done everything properly, but they would have missed IO exception I have written here, but they might not have imported, then still the error exists. Okay, so you should know the connection between everything. Don't simply by heart and just go for written things and all those things. Certain time like they might have given only the template with which you may have to add certain things which you should aware what should be imported as well as how it should be executed. Okay, so now I'll just go for execute and say hello, this is the input and the input is hello. So now it is working properly irrespective of the question, irrespective of the logic. I just did certain things And now the run, like the environment, I know like it's already set, but only thing is for your convenience, if you are a beginner, and like if you don't have more confidence, if you like have less practice, just follow this process so that you will be able to at least like have some confidence and go forward. Similarly, even if it is like say Python, just go with that, just check whether input this function return a string, and then you can just go for print that. And you should know how to do the concatenations, right? Run. Okay, so it is working here. Similarly, if it is say for example C programming, again go with or say for example right. So at the end, like these basic things you should be aware about, right? So let me go for just run it, right? See, what you can see is uh, whether it is, again similarly you can go with C++ as well. I hope you are able to understand the context. Okay, right? So it's already given us std is C out. So similarly you can go with C in, and you can just mention it as input is. Again, if you have taken it as a variable, you can just go for what we can say, mention it, right? Say for example right. So when you are aware about these things, okay, again you can go with using standard name and all those things, you can do that. But whenever we speak about this, right, so you should be having this clarity in any of the programming languages. That's point number one. Okay, so apart from that, once you are aware about this, then go with the problem statement, what you can just see here. So similarly, we should know how to take integer, how to take different inputs, and then go with the logic. Logic here, it's like already given the calculation part. this divided by 150, which means they are taking the number of liters required to fill the tank divided by the distance covered, right? And the same way into like whatever the calculation. So this, since it's like per kilometer per what we can say liter, so you can directly do this calculation. For miles per gallon, if you want to do, you have to calculate that into miles by multiplying that kilometer into 0.6 to this factor, and also like you have to convert that into gallon, so into liters into 0.2642. So that value they have already given it here. Only thing is you should be able to understand, and then you should be able to do that calculation, right? So if you want to go for execute this one, we'll just go for get the inputs. I'll just show you one or two examples. Okay. Again, you can go for take the input using scanner as well, whichever you are comfortable, you can go ahead. No doubt in that. If you go with this, you have to go for what I can say. Again, typecasting once you take it as a string. So hope you are aware about typecasting. If you are not aware, you just go for look into that. Okay. So why did you use new buffer reader IS? So that is how the buffer reader object should be created. So if you're you can just go through the basics, as I said, no, like again it's slightly difficult to cover all the syntaxes as well for time being. That's why I have just showed you with certain reference like this, right? You can just go for check. So how to read input, you will understand, because input parameter for this buffer reader constructor is a input stream reader object. Now if you want to create an input stream reader object, either you have to create either in a before that, and you have to send it as an input, or you can create in a same line. That's what I was just about to show you here, right? So instead of like, either you can do it like this in a single line, or else we can go something like this in two different lines. I just did the same thing in two different lines. That's all, nothing else. Okay. So then the typecasting comes. Whichever the way, see, if you guys are comfortable with C programming, go ahead with C programming. If you guys are comfortable with Python, go ahead with Python. Okay, it doesn't matter. So if you're not aware about Java, no need to get into Java now and scratch your head or get tensed. Okay, so that is why at the end, like what I wanted to convey is you guys should be comfortable with any of the programming language, how to take input and print the output. As simple as that, nothing more. Okay. Right. So if in case you go with say integer, first you will take it as input string only. Then what we are going to do, we are go for typecast. Say int, for example, num equal to input string, right? So now how to do the conversions? If you want to do the conversion, just now we have seen over here, right? You can just see here. If you want to convert into integer, in integer class there is a method called parseInt. Okay, or integer dot value of. So like this you can just do it, right? Now you get used to this, you note down how to convert into float dot parse float, right? So what value we need to send? We need to send that string, input string, right? We'll get that, and let me go for print it as num. Let us check. It is waiting for input. I'll give it as 123. and input is 123. Okay, you could have taken it as string also, print it just directly, it will print it, but mathematical operations won't happen. So you should be very clear with these things, right? So for example, I'll go with another. So as per this question, what we want, we want to take the number of liters. What is the data type which they have given? You just see the question and then follow. Usually whenever we speak about this, we will get the input, or like the liter means it will be point corrected to 2 decimal places, right? So, or if it is 1000, it will go for 3. So you can go with that. It's always good to go with a float or a double. Okay, so that is what required. Now if in case, see, these are all whatever the things which I'm conveying now, the very fundamental, very basics, you should be pretty much strong with this. Okay, and then we will be able to do the other like rest of the things. So I'll just give you a task for next 5 minutes. Okay, so even though you guys are very expert or comfortable with that, please follow this, because there is different types of audience over here. So I'll just give you a small what we can say activity. When we speak about, like, again I'll discuss up to some extent, but I just want all of you to recollect. Only then when I start working on the problems, discussing more on that, this thing should not be a hurdle. If anybody is finding difficulty at this phase itself, we should be able to get the clarity. Okay, don't think that after this class I'll sit and do these things, and don't put all 5 years planner and all those things. Do it right now. Okay, and once you do it, like, you have to share it in the like Q&A, so that we'll see like different language for others also. It will be helpful and it will be as a reference. Now what is the task? As I mentioned, just go with this and say input. If you want to take a input, you should know how to take input for int, float, string. So usually like the strings comes first in any of the language. String, int, float, right? And an array, you should know array of, say for example, int or float. You should know how to take it, and also you should be able to have the clarity on how to take, say for example, int space int space float in a single line. Or you know how, sorry, if you have like more than one integer in the same line, how to take the value. Say for example, if you have 3 integers, you should know how to take the value. Okay, so that's basically like helpful for, could be array or multiple values also, right? So you just go for check in these aspects, and then you go for print it. Okay, so just for an example, I'll just show you. If you go with, say for example, Python, you want to take an input, usually we'll take it as, say for string input, we'll go with input string is equal to direct like input is a function which returns a string. And if I want to go with the integer, input number equal to int of input. Okay, so similarly if it is a float, then again like what you need to do. Similarly if it is like array, so if you want it as an array, say for example arr equal to, again it depends if the input has been given in a single line or input has been. So okay, when I speak about this, it could be data type input int or float, single line array, single line input, multi-line input. Okay, so which means if the array input has been given like this, or a same array input they would have given something like this, no, say. So you should be able to handle these things. Okay, so these are a certain basic operation, like maybe again you should know how to do sorting of this data. So these are all should be very handy. That is what like we will go for discuss next, what we can say, another 15 to 20 minutes, basic operation which anybody and everybody should be aware about. Okay, so after that we'll go for see more questions, and we'll see, like again it could be whatever the different complexity of level of the questions what you are going to get and all, right? So I'll just give some like 8 minutes of time. Now it is 10:57 till 11:05. Again, it's not a break, so it's like you have to do this task and put it in the Q&A section. Okay, just try to get, like if you're comfortable with Python, do it on Python and put it. If you're working on C, try to either do it or collect it, whatever it is. You should have the syntaxes for these basic operations. Okay, so please do it. I'll do that. I'll go for explain you in like some programs in Python, some in C, some in Java, some in C++. I'll do that. But at the end, this is the basic thing, guys. So I want you guys to work and get these things done first. So I'll give you, as I said, no, till 11:05. I don't mind if you search. I don't mind if you this, but you should have that content in front of you. You should not have any like those who are really blank also should get this clarity at least by now. Okay, I'll just give till 11:05. Okay, so hope everybody has done. So please don't waste the time. I hope like even if you are comfortable, even if you are master in programming, still follow this so that it will be really helpful. So those who have done it, like please put it in the Q&A. I can't see anybody sharing in Q&A. Yes, I have not shared the screen. I'm just waiting for anybody has completed response. Okay. So if in case you are not able to understand what I mean, I'll just share certain things. See, at the end, everybody should be comfortable in one or the another way in these aspects. What I'm going to. So you guys can also just take the help of any if you're like not able to get certain things. I know most of you are doing, but thing is in the interest of time, I'm just showing in this way. Okay, so don't take it in a wrong way or these things for time being. Again, if I keep doing everything, it will take a huge amount of time. Okay, so for example, input, separate input, no, like, which means, say, if you want to take integer, how you want to take if it is a Python, right? And if you want to go for, like, say, float, how you need to do it. If you want to take in a string, how you want to do it. And if you want to print it, like, how you can print it in a, like, a collaborative or concatenated way, how you can able to give decimal character to two digits after the decimal point, right? And the same time, like, mixed input, what do you mean by that? One value could be an integer, one value could be a string, a float, it could be anything. In that case, you have to split first and then in a same line, no, single line, mixed input in a single line, how to take it. So similarly, same thing goes with any programming language, guys. Similarly, if you are, like, comfortable with C programming, you should know how to do that. If you come back to, like, say, for example, C programming, say, single data, you will use scanf1, single value, second value, third value, and so on. And if you want more than what we can say, uh, different values in a single line, then you can do it pretty much easier in C programming. But whereas in Java, like, again, when it comes to say Python, you have to split that into separate string and then you have to take it. So it depends, guys. I'm not telling you have to be doing in the same way, exact way, but you should have your own way how you can comfortably able to do it, right? So if you can, like, see, no, single line input, multiple integers, if you want to take a multiple integers, how you can take. Or if you want to take a array, right? So how you need to take and how you need to store that array, how you need to declare the array, how you need to allocate the memory space, everything you should have the clarity, right? So if you are aware about this, rest all programs what we are going to discuss, logic which we are going to discuss, is going to be very pretty much comfortable for you guys. Okay, so again, like, many will struggle in this, right? So similarly, I'll just go for check for, like, other programming language also. At the end, the concept is you should aware about this. Okay, so again, like, Java, how to take it, could be a scanner or it could be using a buffer reader. Just go for find out and get updated with this, as simple as that. Okay, so how to take an array input, how to declare array, how to store array, how to traverse, right? And same way, like, again, those who are working on C++, you please go for do the same and get it done. How to take, how to define the string, how to get the input. Okay, so if you are handy with these things, this is the place where how it is going to help you out. Okay, so if you are aware about these things, again, I know, like, maybe I'm using this chat gpt just for make you understand, because we have a limited time over here, and after this, like, if I keep taking all this content, it will be difficult, and there are different programming languages comfortable for different student. So only with that interest, I'm just helping you out with this. Okay, so don't take it in a wrong way, right? So now coming back to the concept, like, whatever we are going to do, so if you're aware about this, then it is pretty much easier for you to understand, no, like, okay, I need to multiply this and we have to get the output, so you can comfortably do that. So I'll just show you the same output, how you can get it using like any one program. Okay, so maybe somebody is asking about this Python, right? So this is what we want. Now I'll just go with input, enter the number of liters of a tank. So I'll give it as a printf, again bash slash n, so that it will give a new line. It will go for print this and take this, enter this. But what is this number of tank? I want it as a float. I'll typecast this into float, right? So I'll give it as size, tank size, right? And after that, what I want to do, maybe like it could be integer or whatever it is, we'll get it like this. Then I have to take one more input. What is that another input what I want to take? So I want to take it as, what is the, enter the distance covered, right? So distance will go for take the input, right? Distance covered is enter the distance covered, right? So we took both inputs. Since I'm aware about this input syntax, how to take input, how to deal with integer float, so you just see the question and go ahead. See, as per the question, what they are doing here. So they are giving enter this, take input, enter distance, take input, then they are going to display this output, right? So that is what like I have it here. So similarly, I'm just trying to do it. Now in this aspect, there is no indentation. Okay, maybe what they will do, they might give it as a function, then indentation comes into picture. For timing, I'll just show you both way. Okay, so that is done. Fine, we took both input. Now what you need to do, I need to print this. No, this should be the output, liters per 100 kilometer. Okay, liters per 100 kilometer, and I need to print this value. Next, and miles per gallon, these two should be the output. Okay, so now what is the formula? I'll just come back and see in the question itself, they have clearly given what is that. So if you want to do that, whatever this we get divided by, we need to convert this into the respective value. This is the formula for consumption of a fuel per 100 kilometers, right? So both distance and divided by, sorry, capacity divided by distance into 100 is a formula. So I'll just go for do the same thing. Okay, so come back here. What is that? Size divided by distance, and I want it to multiply by 100. So into 100. Okay, so now you should be very careful here, like when you have and like float divided by float, what happens, whether it truncates or it doesn't truncate. So you should have this. Since we have taken it as a float, it will not, but if it is both are integer, then again we will get it as an integer. So that also slightly varies from programming language to programming languages, whether data truncates or not. So you have that clarity on that aspects. So it's always good to go with like 100.0. So it works for like any of these programming languages. Remember, like if whether it is C, whether it is Java. So if you go with like this integer itself, then it might not work if you have taken it as an integer. So whenever you have a fractions, you should be very careful in these aspects. Okay, so let me just go ahead with this. And similarly, miles per gallon, now I have to convert this into miles as well as gallons, right? So size, whatever the tank size is liter, right? Liter should be converted into gallons, right? So that is what is the factor, I need to multiply it by 0.6214. That is already given here, 0.6214, to convert it into miles. Okay, so 6214, you can see here distance is below, so here it is going to be like reverse. So size, I have to multiply it with, like size means basically liters. Liters should be multiplied with what? 0.242642. Okay, so these things. Now is it sufficient? We'll just see that like what happens, what we need to do. Okay, so now let me just go for run it. Let me take the same example 20 and 150, so that we'll see whether we are getting the same output. Okay, number of liters is 20, kilometers is 150, and I'm getting like 13.33, 1.23. Let me come back here. 13.33 is proper. 1 point this something went wrong, like we have to check what is the mistake. So this divided by that, right? Let us check here. Let me give it as the proper priority first. That will go for multiply this, run 20, 150, 17.64. Is it proper? Yeah, now I got, see, the parenthesis was missed. So board must rule, like first it will go for like again associativity and priority. So this is going to be the tricky part what you should consider, guys. Okay, so they might not give you the complete, what we can say, no. So they have given the logic, but if you have missed the parenthesis, the test case will go false. So what I suggest is always go for sample input output, give the same in, run and execute whether you are going to get the same thing output or not. So output we are getting properly, but we want to print it to two decimal places. In fact, like what is happening here, we can see the output is like almost around 12 to 16 digits what we are getting, right? So now how to do that? So almost 15 digits what we are getting. Now you should be aware about like how to print it correctly to two decimal places as per your like programming languages. Say for example, if it is in Python, what I can do, I'll just go for give it as, so I'll give a space or equal to, I'll write percentage point to f. So usually we use this in what? Usually we'll use it in C programming and all those things. Now here whether it works, we'll just see what happens. So if you want to get these things working, you should have the whole values in a proper parenthesis. So if you're getting confused with open bracket, close bracket, you do the calculation in a separate line and just display it here. That is also fine. And you can give percentage here instead of that. Okay, now let me just go for run it. Let me give it as 20, 150, and the output corrected to two decimal places. See, only thing is what I have observed, the programs will be very simple. Okay, so if your foundation is strong, you can comfortably solve one problem out of any given like problem. Most of the things is going to be defined and easier only, trust me. So if you are still not able to do it, that's because your foundation is not stronger. So that's why I know like I would have taken some amount of time only to explain very fundamental things, but it is very 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 necessary. So just don't think that you are going to get something like complex. Yes, one more program will be like, it will be difficult compared to the first one, so that is for sure. So slightly like these things. So but only thing is you should know these basics. Okay, if you want to implement the same things, if the logic or formula remains same in any programming language, only thing is the syntax. Instead of print you might go with printf, instead of input you might go with scanf, or like you can go with what we can say, read next line or next int or something, like whichever the function that varies, but let the logic remains same only, right? Is it clear? Does it making any sense what we are discussing? Are you guys able to learn something, or like you feel that you knew same basic things is only like being covered? See, I'm speaking about the approach, guys. I'm not speaking about say 10 questions, take it, just go with the syntax. So at the end, like same question, you might not, won't get it for sure. So you'll get something similar question with some small changes. It should be the you who is going to solve the problem, right? So that is why I'm just explaining the process how you can solve any given problems. If you want to have a confidence, or if you want to solve any given problems, how what we can say, your approach should be, right? So that's what. And I can see Mamta and Rakesh has raised your hand. If you have any queries, please feel free to put it in Q&A section. Okay. All right. So let me just go through the next aspect. Since this is one question, I know I would have showed you the logic or like execution, what we can say, with one programming language, but trust me, it is going to be the same logic, but syntax varies. That's why I have brushed up and helped you to understand how you can get that different things. So I just try to put this. I know, like if you can go with this, you will be able to get that. I'll share you the command. Instead of like I keep sharing each and everything, you just change the programming language whichever you are using, and you can just go ahead and brush up these things. Okay, so we'll leverage these things. I'm just sharing it in the same Q&A. Okay, just copy paste first. Instead of C++, put it Python, C, whatever it is. So you'll get like a basic syntax which anybody should be aware about. Okay, so that is the one. Okay, right. Let us quickly go through a few more questions. Now there is another question what you can see, right? Say went to a movie with his friends in a wave theater, and during the break time he bought pizzas, puffs and cool drinks as well. So what you can see is each and every how much it cost has been given, right? Pizza cost 100, puffs cost 20, cool drinks cost 10. Generate a bill for this whatever he has bought, right? It's also similar input and output only. Okay, it's also similar input and output only, but only thing is you should know that syntax. You should be able to handle these things. Next, slowly we will go with the next question. Okay, I hope it's clear, right? The question, it's very simple, just a multiplication. If it is 10, 10 into 100, 12, 12 into 20, pi, 5 into 10. Okay, so the total price is 1290. So you should be able to get this, and you should be able to print this. Now, so here is another problem statement. Okay, so those kind of problems, what we can call it as mathematical induction, which means there will be some basic or simple formulas. Either the formula would have been given in the question, or it will be very basic things what you can figure it out. Okay, so you should be able to take input, you should be able to display output as per the requirement. And I say as per the requirement, if it is like two decimal places after the integer or like any real float value, then you have to give it as 2 digit or 3 digit accordingly. And also the printing statement, so you have to match it, even the uppercase lowercase. So Ritik want a magic board which display a character for a corresponding number for his science project. Help him to develop such an application. So for example, when the digits is 65, 66, 67, 66 are entered, the alphabet A, B, C, D are to be displayed. Assume the number of input should be always 4. Okay, so that is what we need to do. Now see, one is taking input, displaying with some basic operators, and now the data transfer, like changing one data to the another, say ASCII value to character, character to ASCII value, right? So these are all the basic operation what you are should be aware about. Now how to do this in different programming language, you can do it in a different way. We'll just see how it could be done. Say for example, if it is a Python. Okay, so what we'll do, I'll just to I3. So this is previous logic, I'll just remove that. I4. Okay, right? So these are all the things. Now what we want to do, we want to display it as a character, right? So if it is goes with Python, print, see input 1 space, I have to print it as a character. So how to do that? Anyone? I hope screen is visible. Just check once, it should be visible for all. Right. So now tell me how to do that. So basic operations. So if you want, like, see, if it is C programming, it is pretty much easy then. Okay. I just take few integer input. You can do it, no? Input I1 equal to say 67, I2 equal to 68, and so on. Now if I want to print this as a character, what I do, I'll just go for print it as I1, right? So I1 is an integer percentage D, and I want it as a character percentage D. So I1 comma I1. Same I1 is displayed once as an integer, another as a character. Okay. Now let me just go for run it. You can see 67 is C, right? And similarly, if I go for copy and again put it for other values, say it could be I2, or I'll give it as 65, and if I go for run it, okay, it's printing one after the another. I'll just give it as a new line, okay, run again. You can see A, C, D. I changed here, but I didn't change the first one. If I change that properly, this also 65, this also I2. Now 65 means A, 67 means capital C, 68 means capital D. So we are able to convert it very easily. It happens in C and C++, you can do it. Okay. But when it comes to again, what we can say, Java and this, right? So how you want to do? So Java also, like again, you can give it as percentage C, it works. So whereas in Python, how you can do? Can we do it as percentage C? Is it available in Java? Character data type is available in Java. Sorry, Python. Am I audible, guys? I hope I am audible, right? Okay, great. Yes, exactly. So we have a function called char which we can use it. Okay, and if you want the ASCII value, you have to use a ORD. So in C and all, like this thing, Python and all, like when we have a character, we can directly consider it as in its integer ASCII value will be an integer, and we can directly get it. But in Python, it won't happen like that. Okay, so we can just, if you want to do it in Python, you have to go for this I1, and along with that character of I1, right? Similarly, 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4, right? So now let me give 65, 66, 68, 70. I gave it as 6. Okay, by mistake it will give some junk value, it's okay, right? So like this we will get the character out of it. Since 6 is not a character, it is giving a, like, actually it's a dot or something. So how you want to get the ASCII value? Say, because we don't have a character data, right? So we'll have everything as a string in Python. So print. Okay, so if you want to print, say for example, capital A ASCII value, comma, we have a function called ORD, and you can give a string. You can see that you will get the ASCII value. So these basics you should be aware about. Okay. Similarly, like it is Java and C, it is going to be the same, like C programming what we have done. So you can directly take it as value as ASCII and all those things. It happens, no worries in that. Okay, right. So If you're clear with this, we'll go with another question. Some college wants to recognize the department which has succeeded in getting the maximum number of placement for this academic year. The department that have participated in recruitment drives are CSC, ECE, MEC. Help the college to find the department getting maximum placements. So now there are three departments, they want to find the maximum. Okay. So basically it's a maximum of three numbers. So it would have been given it as a story along with the invalid condition. So you should be able to write that properly. And one suggestion which I want to give based on like previous questions, what we can see, whenever you have invalid, you have to check for that invalid condition first. If it is not in, like if it is a valid, then only it should go for execute the other things. Understood? So this what should happen. uh, so now they have given like CSC 90 45. This out of that, highest placement has been obtained by CSC because 90 is greater. So you have to take that value, store it in three different integer variable, right? And then you should be able to display the output, right? Like this, you can have it is simple with input and output. There is no much logic in the hidden, but you should know this basic syntaxes with which you should be able to do it. Now here you should be able to take multiple line input, three different inputs of integer. Okay, right. So just give me a second. Let me. Yeah, that is right. So let me just go for share few more questions. Give me a second. I'll reshare my screen. Okay, so we'll see a few more questions. So this is the question. Given an array of integers of size n, an integer d, the task is to rotate the array element. So another area of possible questions what could be available is like on arrays, right? So the previous one was very simple, right? So it is like also a simple questions only, it is not a complex one. So if you guys have really understood, just now we discussed, right, how to take the input of an array, right? It could be in a single line separated by space, comma, or any delimiters, or else it could be in multiple lines. So first thing is you should be able to have array as input, and then you have to go for do the traversal, right? Now what kind of questions you will get on arrays? So as of now, say for example, the d value is 2, this is the array. What do you want to what they want you guys to do in this particular question is you want to do the rotation to the left by d position. What do you mean by that? So initially it is 1 2 3 4 5. You have to take the leftmost element and put it in the back side. That is 1. If you put 1 to the back, it's 1 rotation. 2 to the back also, then it will be 1 and 2. 2 both has been sent to the back, so it is a 2 rotation. So if the d value is 2, you should be able to get this 1 and 2 at the end. So that is what the concept. So this can be implemented in different way, different logic in different programming languages, right? So it depends upon like whatever you are comfortable, you can go ahead and you can come up with your own logic. So here also obviously you should know how to take the input and how to print the output, right? But at the same time, so the logic also slightly varies from different programming language. When I say this, what do you mean by that? In array you have array list. You can, if you are aware about array list, you can easily do certain operations. And similarly in Python, since you have a list, it works as a linked list, so you can do certain basic operations easily, right? Or else when it comes to again C and Java and C++, so if you are aware about certain inbuilt, again C, you know, other way you have to do it by elementary way only. Right? 3. So that is what the output 4 5 3, right? So now how you can do this? If you want to do this, first you should know how to take input. But now coming back to this particular question, usually whenever you get a question, the high chances will be they will be giving you the program with the functions. What do you mean by that? We'll just go for look into that. Okay. Just a second, I'll share that programming screen. Okay. Right. Let us go for see how it could be implemented. In this case, what I will do is um, let me just go for implement it in a Java, right? So observe this very carefully. See, they would have already taken some input and they would have given point number 1 what we need to understand. Okay. So they might just give you a function. Okay, so you may have to return an int array, rotate left, and they might send the, what we can say, an integer array, right? ARR. What is the data type of this? It is going to be an integer array. Along with that, they'll also send an integer d. Okay, so at the end we need to return ARR. So this is what the concept. Okay, logic. Okay, you need to write what logic. What logic you need to write, so that like you are going to get this. They will give it as like fill the code, something like this. Fill logic here. So you need to understand, listen to this very carefully and observe. Many might struggle in this aspect. See, as I said, like input taking and all is fine. They have already taken care about that, assuming that. Okay. So you need to know like how it should be printed. I'm just going to say print ARR. Let us see what it is going to print or what happens. First, let me run this and check any error is there. Okay, unnamed class or preview features, come back, what happened? So I should have written this in a inside a class, sorry. It should be a part of main only. Tab, okay, compile. Okay, it should be a, without object I am calling that method. So fine. Okay, just to check whether it is working, I'm just go for give system dot out dot println hello, run. It's loading, just a second. Maybe it's slightly slow, we'll just check. What happened? Did I do any mistake or getting into infinite? Okay, am I taking any input here? Yeah, it's waiting for an input, sorry. No, no, not input also. Just a second. Yeah, it's waiting for input. Right, so hello is getting printed, and since I'm printing that array directly, it is printing something like this. Then I just, what I will try to do is I'll go for print that array. Okay, so since it is a array what we have, what I will do is for, I'll use a for each for, okay, int n in array. I'll just go for printed. Okay, so I'll comment this. It's just for, just like that, something. Okay, so I can see 1 2 3 4 5 as it is. It is going and coming back, right? So what I did is, okay, as of now I create this is a template. I just wanted to see whether this is working properly. The template. What I'm doing, I'm just trying to run and execute the given template itself. I'm not doing anything. Maybe for you guys, only this function is visible. Okay. So if they give it as a template, you can see only these things, and they would have said like you write something here, right? So I'll just go for see that, and you have to return array. So this also not required. What I will do, simply I'll just go for send this array and check whether it is printing and it is giving this line. So this input is also not required, right? I'll just go for run it. So that array is sent, array is displayed. I have no rotation done yet, right? Now what I want to do, I am getting an array, I'm sending the array as it is back to wherever it has been called. Now I will write the logic for doing this, whatever the necessary actions. Okay. So how to do, what to do, then we can just think about it. Right. Now either you can store it as what we can say an array list. There are one way how it can be do, or if it is like really array, so you can just go for do it in the other ways. It depends. Now what I will do is this array, I can take it as array list. Like we have a method called remove and add and all those things, the insert and remove operations, what we can do, add and remove operations. So if you want to write it completely, then you can take it as array list and you can do it, or else just go for this, create a new array. Okay, so arr dot length. Length is 5, right? You should be handy with all this operation, even though they're not sending this. You should be handy with all these operations. Okay, so I'll just go for add these two values to the end. Okay, I'll create int arr or like output. I'll take it as another new array, and then I'll go for create it with initialized by, okay, new array of size of integer whatever we want. Okay, and then we'll be able to go for assign this value. That is one logic, and another logic could be converting into array list and do it. Now tell me how we can go for create. You should at least have that no basic idea of like how to create a dynamic size array in the, what we can say, Java. Okay, so how to do that? So you have this data type you have this array and you have to use a new keyword and then followed by whatever the data you are looking for, right? Integer, and let me give it as size. What is the size I want? I want the size, this array length, right? So once it is ready, I'll just have a traverse through this data and I'll go for put it in the respective position. So first I'll go with for int I equal to, so I have to start from which index? D, because I have to skip that. I have to put the first two element at the last, right? I'll start at D, so which means 0 1. If it is 2 means 0 1 would have been already skipped, right? So D and I is less than this array length, okay, and then I plus plus. This is just a traversal. So like this we should be able to do, which means what I am doing, so I am taking the same array what we have here, okay, and if you can see the array index, what is this array index? This array index is 0, this is 1 2 3 4 5 6, this is the array index. Now what I want to do, if I want to do this, they have given the D value. What is the D value? D value is equal to 2, which means this first two elements should go last. So I'm starting from second index, the loop starting from second index, and I'm assigning it to the new array, okay. So which means I'm just taking a, what we can say, new array and assigning this 3 4 5 from 0th index, and at the end what I will do, I'll just take this 1 and 2 and I'll assign it here. This is for the task. So which means if we can observe here clearly, this value in the second index should come to the 0th index of a new array. So this is what the task. How do I do that? I'll just go for start from D. D means 2 till end, and then I'll go for assign. What is that? Output of. So now here this should start from 0 only, right? I'll just take j equal to 0. I'll initialize this. It should be an integer, and I'll go with j equal to whatever the array of I. So we'll go for assign that. Now it will keep copying till the end. But at the same time, what I will do, I wanted to increment this j value, j plus plus. Either you do here or do it in next line, j equal to j plus 1 or j plus plus, whatever the way you want, you can do it. So it will go till end, and once it reach end, I have to add the first two values as well, right? So for that, same thing I will do, but instead of it start from D, now here I'll start from 0, and this goes till D, right? So this is what the task. If you can understand this logic, you can write it. If you go for, like, let me go for run, integer cannot be converted to int. Okay, so here declaration data type is wrong. Okay, so now this is happening fine. Let me just check what went wrong. Now I have to return not ARR, I have to return the output OP, because I did changes in another, right? So let me go for do that, and you can see 3 4 5 1 2 has appeared. Now if they are asking your asking the output in this new line or other thing, based on that you have to, like, again, if you want to do something you can do it. So if it is like this, print, okay, and if you want to give a space after that, fine, hope right? So this presentation also matters a lot. You should be able to take care about this aspect as well. Okay, so this is a simple operations on arrays. It could be rotations, it could be finding average, maximum, second maximum, minimum. There are plenty of such kind of problems. What you have, you guys can go for look into this. Now, if in case you guys ask me whether we are going to get like all both questions like this in the similar same order, simple thing, no. Okay, so we'll just see. But if you are at any point of time, if you are strong with your basics, you can comfortably able to clear one questions by writing like this kind of things. Okay, so then what else you need to prepare? So those are comfortable with these and all those things, I'll just share you in that aspect as well, right? See, those who don't know like Java, the logic remains same, guys. So even for the same program, if you want me to write what we can say in Python, it is even more simpler. Okay, it depends upon your programming, whichever your programming language you're comfortable, you can go ahead. So if you want to see with this, okay, I'll just show you with Python. Now there might be they would have written the main function kind of and all. Okay, assuming that, say for example, arr equal to 1 2 3 4 5. So this is the thing, and they are calling a function. So rotate left, and they're sending this arr comma d value as 2, and you have this function they return. You need to write the function. Now listen to very carefully whoever wants to deal with Python. Okay, so here we will have a def and this. Usually, listen to this very carefully. Usually Python editors, once you give colon and enter, it will give this indentation. What you can see by default, once I entered, it has given 1 2 3 4 space, and the cursor has appeared here. But whereas in TCS, it will appear here, editor. So if it gives that four spaces in that as like indentation, good. If not, listen to very carefully. If not, use the tab button first. Always suggested to use tab button. 90% it should work properly. The moment when you give, it will give automatically again like 4 space or 8 space based on the editor. See, it was here. I am pressing tab on my keyboard. Understood? I'm pressing what? Tab on my keyboard. Okay, the moment when I press tab, it is giving a tab, and then you type the logic here. If tab is not working, sometimes what happens when you give, that is rare case, 90% it won't happen, tab will work. Okay, it will go to some other like button kind of in usual, what we can say, web applications. Okay, if it is a form filling and all, it will go to the next input tab. So if it is happening by any chance like that, you use space 1 2, or like 1 2 3 4, or like don't go for 4, use simple like 2 space kind of, and you can go ahead. First you try with tab. If it is moving some space, good, because you need not to keep calculating how many space you entered. Even if you miss a one space, it is going to be difficult, so use tab only. Now you have to write the logic. What is the logic? Say return, I want to rotate this, right? So here what all the input, I'll get this arr and I'll get this d. So I want to send what? I want to send a new list which is a combination of these two. So what is the first one? I want to send arr with, there is a slicing. It is very simple in that it starts from d and it goes till end. So when I do this, I'll get this as a separate list. I want to concatenate this with, right? So again arr, so starting from 0th index, it should go till d. So this is like only one line or logic what you can write. So again, it's sending. Since I'm not printing here, it's not displayed, so I'll just go for print whatever the output it is going to return. Now I will run, and you can see that 34512 we got the output, but in fact like it is returned as a list. Maybe if I want to print it properly, so there are different ways how you can do it. Okay, so you can go with right, this dot join method which is available, or else you can go with for each. Sequence item 0 recent line number 6 string instance. Okay, int found. Okay, since it is an integer it is not happening. Okay, since it is an integer list, right? So join won't work. Just a second. How it could be done? I'll just take this output equal to, and I'll just go for I in output print. Okay, I comma. So by default end value will be new line in Python. You go with a space. That's all. Run it. Parenthesis not properly closed in line number 6. Line number 666. Rotate. Okay. This is extra. Right? You got the output. So you should be able to represent in the way how it is going to be asked. So similarly, again, see also you guys have to work on the logic. Same logic what we have seen in Java can be used. Okay, logic remains same. This logic for loop and all remains same. Instead of length, you will get the what we can say array size would have been either n some value would have been there, or else you can just go for find the. Usually it will be given the input size. You can go for take it and you can do it. Okay, so it depends upon the template what they are giving. You need not to worry on that aspect, but logic remains in the same. Integer, for loop, everything remains same. Okay, so almost when we come across C++ and Java, this for if condition logics, these are all remain same. Only sometimes maybe this length, or if you go with array list and all, that's why I didn't show you the logic with the array list as of now. Okay, and same logic can be implemented in Python also. Again it remains same. Only thing is you should take care about the indentation and like again variable declaration, initialization, everything properly as per the Python syntax. Okay, right. So you can see this, no? If you want to go with like again Java, you can if you're writing the whole logic on your own, you can go with array list. If you go with array list, declare a array list. Okay, and then this value has been given, take the input and add it to the array list, and then what you want to do is you need to remove whatever the value in the zeroth index and add it to the add means add at the end. It's like a append, add at the end function. So remove the zeroth index and do it for d number of times. Simple. So rest are like you're going to print it and all those things, right? So this is like very easy if you're aware about the data structures available, predefined data structures. When I say again data structure, don't go for such a complex. Again, I don't know queue, I don't know stack. It's okay, but at least you should be aware about how to use these predefined methods, array list, how you can implement that. You should know the basic concept like add, remove methods. Then it is going to help you out. And another question what you can see here, given an array, okay, of size n is also given. Task is to print the element of the given array present at odd indexes. So which means you have to print and the alternate. These are all like very simple, just a traversal. So most of the things you should know how to declare, take input and store the array element, also to traverse and put some simple if condition. Now what is that? So if you can see here, this is at 0th index, you should not, again odd index, odd one based index, they have clearly given first element is 1 not 0. So this is 1 you have to print, this is in the second, no need to print, third is index odd, fifth, so you have to print 135. Okay, so that's what you need to do. Again this also goes with what we can say simple logic kind of, right? Just run a for loop or for each loop and check for a condition. If the I value is, say, if the I value you are starting it from 1, so then you can go with 1, but the array index is going to be 0. So which means if it is a even index, you should print it like it is going to be reverse. That basic understanding what you guys needs to have it, right? So if in case, so now which programming language you want me to show? So this is Java already seen, Python seen. We'll go with C programming. Okay, so we have an integer array of size, say for example 5, and I am stored this value. Now what they want us to do is we want to print, what do we want to print? We want to print odd index values, right? So I'll go with for int I equal to 0, I is less than 5 because we know the n value. Okay, then I plus plus, right? And I need to print this value. So this is what the task. But before printing, I want to apply a condition. If I mod to equal to, see, they asked us to print odd index. Again, this they have considered as 1 as an odd index, but in reality 0 index starts from 0. So if it is equal to 0, then it is odd index. Then I'll go for print this I. Okay, ARR of I, and I'll give a space here. Run this, you can see 135 based on the input. Again, if you want to take input and do it, then you can do that also. You know, scanf, printf and all those things now, right? You should be able to do it. Okay, right, just give me a second. Right, so okay, So I'll just show you some question papers of the previous. So also, like as I mentioned, okay, so also as I mentioned, just right. So we'll just see some previous questions. You can see like Joseph is learning digital logic subject, which will be for his next semester. He usually tries to solve unit assignment problems before the lectures. Today he got one tricky question. The problem statement is a positive integer has been given as an input. So when you read all these things, what we need to take, an integer has been given as an input. Convert decimal value to binary representation, toggle all the bits. So this is what the things. This is what we need to do. Okay. So now this has been given it as an integer, 10 as an integer, right? So what we need to do is we need to convert decimal value to binary representation, toggle all the bit. Toggle means we have to do the reverse of that and we have to convert it back. This is one more things. We saw character to ASCII value, ASCII value to character, right? So now here integer or like whatever the decimal value we have, that integer to binary, binary to integer. That is what needs to be done. Now how it could be done? So here you can see a simple calculation explanation how 10 has been displayed as 5. How? So if you can just see here, we will have like the place value, right? For everything we'll have a place value, right? So 10 binary means it is going to be, if you take it as a 8 digit, it is going to be 00001010. This is the value, right? And what is going to be done if you go for, right, toggling all the values? What do you mean by toggling all the values? If you can just see here, toggle all bits of it after the most significant bit, and the most significant bit print the positive integer value after the toggling all the bits. So they have given the example like this, not like we have to take what is this, most one is like this, so we have to go for take all these things. When you go for do the toggling means like if you see one and one, so if it is like same basically XOR operations kind of. So when you do the XOR operations, we are going to get it as 101. Okay, so this is known as 5. Like when you convert this into decimal, it is going to be 5. Now how to go for execute this is again like there is another example also which has been given, right? So how we are going to do this, you should be aware about this basic mathematical what we can say log inbuilt function. If it is Python, there is like math.log to the base 2 is available. Okay, and if it is C programming, again log 2 to the base n is available. So this mathematical oriented so what we can say inbuilt mathematical functions you guys should be aware about. If you want to do the same thing using Java, so math.log.n. So this is how you need to do this to conversion from decimal to integer, like how it could be done. Okay, and you have to subtract by 1. That is what they have given, no, most significant bit by 1. So whatever you get, we have to do this minus 1. We will get that alternate value whatever we are looking for here. Okay, so that's the concept. But like what I wanted to suggest is you please go for look into these inbuilt mathematical functions. Okay, and you should be able to see anywhere that log base, log 2 that concept remains same in any of the programming language, but you should be aware about what inbuilt method which is available, right? At the end, like you can see all the output has been done with XOR, bitwise XOR operation only. Anywhere you can see bitwise XOR operation, bitwise XOR operation, bitwise XOR operation. So that operation bitwise logic remains same. Maybe the way how they are taking input, the way how they are printing output is slightly varying, right? And There is another question, no? So what is that? There is like sorting of zeros, ones and two. Okay, so this is another question. There is an input given which we need to sort based on ascending order, but we have only three values, 0, 1 and 2. So there are many ways how it could be done. So you can just use any sorting algorithm. But if they have asked about, like, maybe sometimes they will speak about time complexity with less time complexity and all those things, still you will first go for do whichever the way you know. Okay, it's just like sorting. You can see 0, 1, 2. So or else when you have a fixed data 0, 1, 2, you can just keep three variables, count. If it is equal to 1, increment 1. If it is equal to 0, increment 2, 0 and 2. So then you, at the end you will get what all one. Once you traverse from starting to end, you will get the whole count. So then you will be able to easily go for display the runner loop 0, print these many number of times 0, print these many number of times 0, these many number of times 0. So that's how it is going to happen. Again, it also depends based on different programming language. You might have some inbuilt functions which you can make utilization of. Okay, say for example you can see sort. There is a sorted function available in Python. Those are using, get used to that. Just take into like some list and use sorted. Again, there is sort method is also there. Learn and understand how it could be done. Or else like you can go with any of the sorting algorithm. It could be quick sort, merge sort, selection sort. It depends upon like whatever the sort you wanted to go ahead. At least you should know one basic sorting algorithm. Anyone, go with selection sort or quick sort or merge sort. Be thorough with that. If you want to do sorting, if you are not able to use any inbuilt functions, then you should be able to use any of the sorting algorithm, right? So similarly you can just yeah, so like that. Again, it depends upon your whatever the logic you wanted to implement, guys. Okay, but before like again we conclude, I just wanted to say that you guys should be aware and very handful, like thorough with these things what we have seen here. Right, see this, I have given a comment. You can just go for see that arrays and all those things. Also you can see that sorting plays a very important role. Everybody, irrespective of your programming language, either get to know is there any inbuilt methods available to do the sorting, or if you don't have, at least you should know any one of the sorting algorithm basic. Because for solving like the simple problem, they won't check time complexity and all those things. You should get the output at least for this drive which I'm speaking. Okay, so you get used to like one inbuilt method to sort, another one is normal way to sort the program, so which is going to helpful, right? So that's all for today's session. But programs as PDF, okay, how I can share, right? I'll just look into that. But for time being, if in case you want this questions, let me just try to share it in the chat. Okay, I cannot share more. Okay, just go for, Okay, so I'll just sharing these things. Maybe some more. It's all like simple. Even if you go with say type it as previous CTS TCS questions, you're going to get it like these things. See, getting a questions and all is not difficult, guys. Only thing what I want to mention is you guys should be capable of understanding and have a confidence to approach any given problems for which your fundamental concept should be stronger. You should be comfortable enough to take any given inputs. You should be able to print. You should know the priority and associativity rule of any of the operators. You should know how to round off and print the things. You should know how to take the input for an array. You should know how to sort it. You should know how to display it. You should know how to write the functions as we have seen in like Python, like the logic how you can write it and you can return. You should know once you see the editor like whether it is working, like what input they are passing. So you should be able to simply print it and see like what is happening. So that gives like step, when you start working on this like this incremental order of coding, then it is going to be very easy. Okay, so that's all. So you need not to worry on other aspect for more. Only thing is make your fundamentals stronger and solve as many problems as possible.